Hello and welcome to this week's travel show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. This week I'm focusing on the Great Lakes region of the USA, so there's plenty for you to find out about the area when we speak to my two guests, Dave Lorenz, the Vice President of Travel Michigan, and Toby McCarrick, who's the Executive Director of the Great Lakes USA. The interviews were recorded in a bar in a hotel in South Kensington, so there's a little bit of background noise every now and again as they're preparing the bar for the lunchtime drinking sessions. We weren't drinking, listener, honest, we were talking and chatting, maybe the old glass of water. But I always seem to have problems when I interview people in the South Kensington area. A few years ago I popped down to the Science Museum, did a great interview with the head of learning there, only to come back to the studio to find out that the preamplifier in my recorder had gone pop, so the interview wasn't usable for a radio broadcast. Very disappointing, but I did get to go back down there and play with the stuff again, so it wasn't too bad. This time I took a backup recorder, checked all my batteries and made sure I'd held all my equipment before the night before. Got down there, my backup recorder, its memory card was full, it refused to let me delete anything, so halfway through the first interview I'd lost my backup recorder. But luckily my main recorder still worked, so I do have something to share with you on this week's show. So as I mentioned, we were speaking to Dave Lorenz later about Michigan and why you should visit there. But first, it's Toby McCarrick, who represents the Great Lakes USA region. We're going to find out about this area in general and a couple of states that help make up the area. But the first thing we need to know really is what is the Great Lakes region?
It's right located in the central part of the United States. It's each of the states that touch one of the 5 Great Lakes. So it includes Minnesota, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. It's a region that a lot of people really don't know that well because they're used to going to a New York or an Orlando or a Las Vegas. So we get a traveler that normally has been to the United States several times, and they're looking more for that real American experience rather than what I like to call the man-made stuff that they're going to find in the Disneys and the Las Vegases. That's when they find the Great Lakes region.
You've listed a load of states. How wide an area does it cover?
Well, it's interesting. You know, people, especially when I talk to UK people and Europeans, they don't always understand that one of our states are, the size of a country. Mm-hmm. So one way that I do explain it was when I talk about the lakes themselves, Lake Superior, which is the largest of the lakes, is actually larger than the country of Switzerland. So all of our states are, practically the size of continental Europe. So it is a big region. I mean, you either have to have a good 21 days or come back a couple times to travel through the region if you're going to go all the way from Ohio to Minnesota.
Quite large then.
Quite large, yes, it is.
The lakes are huge, and you said about Lake Superior. Why is it a lake and not a sea?
Interesting. The reason they're not inland seas, even though they're the size of seas, is seas are made up of salt water. Mm-hmm. Our lakes are all fresh water. It is the largest amount of fresh water in the world. It's actually 20%, 1/5 of all the fresh water in the world are located in those lakes, in the 5 lakes, which include, and I tell people because they use them in quiz questions, if they think of the word homes, like you live in your home, homes, so it's Huron, Ontario, Michigan, H-O-M-E, Erie, and S, Superior. So that's one way of remembering the lakes themselves.
Are they connected in any way, or are they all completely separate?
Yes, they are connected. You could actually enter them. People come in through the ocean, essentially through the St. Lawrence River, and that comes into the Great Lakes. So literally, you can go from one Great Lake to the next Great Lake. We actually have cruise ships and excursion ships that are on the lakes, and you can actually get all the way over to the Mississippi River and then go down the Mississippi River out New Orleans and then to the other side of the continental United States. There's a lot of water throughout our entire region, not just the 5 Great Lakes. For example, Michigan has 11,000 inland lakes. I believe Minnesota has 13,000 inland lakes. In addition to the rivers that we have, the Mississippi River starts in Minnesota, goes all the way down from Minnesota, it borders Minnesota and Wisconsin, Illinois, all the way down to New Orleans. So water plays a big role. It's actually why the region developed. Because of the rivers and because of the Great Lakes, it was commerce and trade, back in the early 1900s.
Does any of the water get used for drinking water?
Yeah, it does. Great Lakes, it is all fresh water. So yes, the communities that are around the lakes are able to use the water as drinking water. It's very, very clean water.
Does all this water mean that the climate's significantly different at the lakeside than it is to the more land-based parts of the states, or doesn't have any effect at all?
No, there's a lake effect. I live in Chicago, and my house is about 4 blocks from the lake, which is Lake Michigan. And there are many, many times that we'll get snow when, if you go 7 miles out, there's no snow because it's lake effect snow. Mm-hmm. We also, my house does not have air conditioning because we get all the breeze and the lake effect breeze, so it's cooler. So it's kind of nice. It's actually a little warmer near the lake in the wintertime, and it's a little cooler in the summertime. The lakes are used for recreation all the time. I'm not so sure that I want to do it, but during the wintertime is when we have the largest waves in the lakes. Mm-hmm. We'll get waves that are 21, 25 foot tall. So people actually have on wetsuits and they're surfing. Then the summers when the lakes are primarily used, and there's everything from fishing to, and it's not just small catch fishing. I mean, we have coho salmon that are in the lake, so it would be similar to deep dive fishing. We also, diving is really big in the lakes, and because it's fresh water and because it's very cold water, the deeper it goes, a lot of our wrecks, a lot of the things that people dive to see, they haven't deteriorated like something might in the salt water, so it's really good diving too. So there's a lot of recreational aspects to the lakes.
Do all these lakes freeze over during the winter, or do they not?
Yes, they do. They do freeze. An example I use is up in Michigan, which would be right off Lake Michigan in the state of Michigan. Michigan is the only state in the nation that's actually made up of 2 pieces of land that aren't connected. In between them, where the 2 pieces of land are, is a small island called Mackinac Island. And during the wintertime, they will actually make an ice road because it freezes all the way out to the island, which normally the only way you can get there is via plane or by a ferry boat, but people drive back and forth. Now, the catchy thing, and there's a lot of little islands like that off of our coastlines in all the lakes, and you can drive to the islands in the wintertime. It's when it gets to be spring, and it's kind of that last decision, you're like, oh my gosh, can I make it across without falling? And there's been a few cars that have gone in, but yeah, they do freeze over in the wintertime.
More things for the divers to see then.
Yes, yeah, diving for the cars, yeah.
You're listening to The Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. It's a Great Lakes USA special on this week's show. At the moment I'm speaking to Toby McCarrick about the Great Lakes area. We've done a little bit of background information about the region and the lakes. Now we're going to be moving on to one of the states that help make up the Great Lakes, and that's Ohio. And, well, obviously you want to know which lake is part of this state.
Ohio has Lake Erie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's right, one of the neat things, Ohio's really kind of has 3 very distinct areas. They have what's called the 3 C's. Cincinnati is in the south part of the state, and it's very, very southern feel. It's a river town. You find the great big paddle wheelers down there, so it has a completely different feel because you truly are in the southern part of the United States. In the central part of Ohio, it's more the businessy areas where Columbus is. That's where the capital is. But it's also where Ohio State University is. We have a lot of Big Ten universities in our region, and not that anyone's going to come there because of the university, but what they do add is when you have one of these big universities, it brings culture, it brings restaurants, it brings different ethnic people that live there. So it's an interesting place because of all the attributes that the university brings. And then getting back to the lake itself, on the very northern part, the big sea up there is Cleveland. Cleveland, number one thing, it's the home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Anything and everything you want to know about rock and roll music. But it sits right on Lake Erie. One of the cool things up there, though, is just about 45 minutes from Cleveland, if you're traveling around the lake as if you were going up toward Detroit, 45 minutes around the lake is a theme park called Cedar Point. Everyone has theme parks. There's theme parks over here. There's theme parks all over the United States. But Cedar Point happens to be the #1 rated coaster park in the world. So they have the highest, the fastest, it's every year they put in something new and different. And it sets, again, right on the lake. So you're on some roller coasters that literally when you're coming down, they literally swoop over and it looks like you're like going to go into the lake before they actually come back into the land. So it's a really cool coaster park. It's for the thrill riders.
I think I'll give that one a miss. I mentioned Columbus, the state capital. It's one of the biggest cities in the USA. It's not very well, not many people have heard of it when I've been chatting to people. Mm-hmm. Is there much to see and do there if you're a visitor?
It is. Probably the biggest thing, and again, everyone has zoos, and so we don't necessarily promote zoos, but the zoo in Columbus is one of the #1 things I promote because it's among the top 5 rated zoos in the world. So if anyone's going to go to that type of an attraction, I definitely send them to the Columbus Zoo. And when you're in Columbus, there's a lot to do and see around it. I mean, you can just go then right on past Columbus about an hour, and you're in the Holmes County area, which is the big Amish area. A lot of people think Amish, they think Pennsylvania. But actually, Ohio has the largest Amish population in the United States. They're very interesting people. They're very kind people. You can drive through Ohio, and you drive right by the horse and buggies. You look out in the fields, and they still plow their fields with horses and plows. They live without electricity. They don't have automobiles. I actually promote the Amish a lot for families, for family travel. Because in this day and age, even though this is radio, you can't see what I'm doing with my fingers, but it looks like I'm holding a phone and I'm typing something on my telephone. Because young kids nowadays, that's what they know. They know their iPhones, they know their iPads. But yet, when you go into the Amish areas and you see people, how they lived, 100, 150 years ago, it's a big eye-opener for young people. So I think it's a great family destination for them to see the Amish.
It's not an intrusion, then it's fine to go and visit.
No, they're a very nice people. The only thing they do not want you to do, they don't mind you taking pictures of them. They don't want